There's nothing that I think pisses me off more than watching an agent ask a carrier if they can have an outsourced employee to do basic service tasks. Frankly, to help the agent, the carrier says, no, we're not approving virtual employees in agencies right now. So they say no. The agent goes, oh, we can't do outsourcing? Cool. Let me transfer you to the Philippines.
My name is Nick Berry, and this is another episode of Connected Conversations in Insurance. Today, we have Davie Holt with Virtual Intelligence. Davie, I'll let you give yourself a quick intro, and then we'll get into it.
My name is Davie Holt. I am the president of Virtual Intelligence. Most people put us in a box of being a VA company, but we actually do so much more. I've been in the insurance industry since 2015. Got into national sales leadership at a big premium finance company where I'm at here in Kansas City, Missouri. But I am relentlessly, regardless of what company I work for, own a part of Virtual Intelligence here, where I'm at in the industry. I love insurance. I love insurance agents. I love all my friends that I've made over this last decade. And I am just relentlessly, sometimes unprofitably committed to the success of my customers and agents and friends. I'm just happy to be with one of my friends, Nick. Glad we're here today, man.
Yeah. So we both got into the space about the same time. I was at that previous software company. This is my fourth company. Yeah, we both started interacting, meeting each other at events around the same time.
That's right. I think the first time we got together was Phoenix.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time together, right?
Yeah. Yep. All right. I'm going to close some windows so I don't get distracted. And that is the first. So let's get into, and I've worked at a VA company before, and let's just kind of dive into one of the things I really liked when you guys came out is you're trying to reframe what the job is and the title of the job. Because it always bugged me when people are like, oh, I'm going to hire a VA. I'm like, well, what does that mean to you? Because it really was, you're hiring an employee. They just happen to not be in your office, or they're offshore, or they're another facility. Let's kind of talk about why you guys reframed that.
Well, thank you for saying that. First of all, one of the reasons why we get along so well is you see that differently. I mean, that initial foundational approach that you just took is different than so many people believe about virtual employees overseas. Zoom out of the company, zoom out of virtual intelligence, zoom out of everything. Every employee that works in an agency, it doesn't matter where you find them, whether it's through an agency or a country or direct or whatever, everyone that works in an agency needs feedback. How about this one, a little simpler? Everyone that works anywhere needs feedback. And for some reason, our customers and my friends, it's like a part of their brain shuts off. All the good coaching and development and love and support and feedback they would have given to anybody else, they think just because this person's overseas, all that institutional knowledge is forgotten. I appreciate you calling that out. What I said, Jason and I, Jason Cass and I were the ones that put me in this business. And he said, hey, I think with your help and your focus doing this 100% of the time, that we can bring some legitimacy to the industry. And I thought that was cool, right? Oh, I'm going to put an industry on my back. But it's more than that. I'm not putting an industry on my back. I'm not trying to change any facts. I'm just highlighting how good of people there are in other countries that just so clearly, directly want to just work for Americans. They just want to live the American capitalist business dream. And the easiest way they know how to do that is learn some English. So we thought it was really, really important, and it still is today, to recognize the human element of these people as good, sound professionals and people that can be long-term contributors in this weird industry we have where there's licensed and non-licensed work and overseas and whatever. So yeah, thanks for calling that out. But I will say, we're not for everybody. Not all companies are for everybody. So there's a lot of people that don't get it, that just want to treat these human beings like robots or like resources instead of people. And we're not for those people. So we can't change everybody. There's a lot of people we like to help update their software. But if it's a firmware change, it ain't working.
Yeah. Well, And I think and I had a really good question on Twitter about how could we recreate this in the lower cost living areas of the United States. And I think that there's opportunity there.
Right.
And then what really created this offshore business for the agencies? Was it, squeezing commission? Was it carriers? Was it aggregators not paying their fair share? And this is a tough question to ask a VA company, but what do you think was the catalyst for this happening?
I am two things. I am a recovering premium finance professional in the insurance industry. Okay, I'm currently in recovery from that. And I'm also a recovering political science major, which is really good for party parlor tricks to talk about politics when everyone's afraid to. It's the economy, stupid. And that's what it is. Why VAs are everywhere today. I mean, and my algorithm is the worst right now because my business partners are insurance agents, and then I work for a virtual employee company. So my algorithm is the most polluted with VA companies. They don't come from the industry.
Yep.
They're just shell companies. And so, that's my algorithm. But I think over time, the reason this has happened is because the United States has prospered. This is exactly like my friend and business partner Jason Cass says, this is the next industrial revolution. At one point when we needed low skill labor into the United States, we bring the immigrants here. Again, whether it's legal or not, I'm not here to talk about that, but at the end of the day, the immigrants, legal or not, are the ones working in fields, so we bring them here. This is the next evolution of that in white collar work. You can't find college educated, very smart people that want to do data entry all day and stay there. You can certainly get somebody there for a year or two, but every agency owner that listens to this knows that you've got to promise something. The economy as we live in it today is unsustainable to pay somebody 40 hours a week, regardless of what you pay them, from a job satisfaction standpoint, to do the insurance work that, hey, our industry has created. And it's easy for agents to blame the carriers with the paperwork. And most of that is true. But we all owe ourselves this industry to take responsibility to say that the paperwork and all of the documentation that's in this that requires needing full-time people to enter data all day, that's our fault as an industry. So that's why it exists, is over time, those jobs that we thought were good jobs, coming out of high school, coming out of college, they just, you don't have anybody there. So then the immigrants, the foreign workers, where the USD translates so well or their economy's depressed, they're just like during the Industrial Revolution with the Irish and the Polish was showing up and they're going, oh, hey, there's work, we'll work.
Yeah.
We're happy to work, we're enthusiastic, we're good people, we're smart, let's put us to work. I mean, no, the choice is simple. It's the trust that everybody doesn't have. And the trust has been diminished by some of these bad actors in our industries. That's why the job exists, the need exists, Nick. It's an economic thing, and it's also economic that the other countries' GDP and socioeconomic stature in the world is not the same as the USD. As long as the US dollar will be what it is and it's more powerful than in other countries, outsourced labor will always exist as long as it's not cannibalized by technology or automation or AI.
Big corporations, the carriers included, have been doing this for decades. They go in, but the difference is they go in and they have $1 billion available to them.
Correct.
They go build a call center. They go hire people for pennies on the dollar. They pay their staff.
Yeah.
And then
with no career track.
With no career
all
track.
They can ever be is the call center manager.
Yep. That's the highest they're ever going to get. With nothing, they go, oh, well, insurance agents, you can't do that.
Yeah, there's nothing that I think pisses me off more than watching an agent ask a carrier if they can have an outsourced employee to do basic service tasks. Frankly, to help the agent, the carrier says, no, we're not approving virtual employees in agencies right now. Frankly, the only reason they say that, by the way, is because they don't understand that there are legitimate entities that have cybersecurity and software and everything. So they say no. The agent goes, oh, we can't do outsourcing? Cool. Let me transfer you to the Philippines.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no greater way to piss somebody off than to engage them in a hypocrisy that you set up yourself.
Yep.
And I actually, what's funny, Nick, is I just saw a note from a customer. I'm going to read it right now. This customer, who is part of a larger organization, I'll just say that. Hey, as of now, blank, is only approving Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, and India, just so you know. We have entities banning based on country, not on the cybersecurity software, not based on underwriting guidelines, not based on background checks or the physical entity. I mean, in theory right now, if we just use Mexico, today, a cartel could put someone on a computer with internet access and put them in a U.S. insurance agency just because they're from Mexico. Right?
Yep.
Whereas if you work with a company who knows what they're doing, they'll actually set up a real business partnership in that country, a legal entity, real background checks, taxes paid, communication and coordination with the local labor laws and things like that, and make Mexico safer than any of those other countries, or Argentina or Brazil or Colombia where we have an operation. It's not just spin the globe, hit a country and go yes or no based on the domestic foreign relations that the United States has with them or the extradition treaties or whatever. You got to understand what the heck you're talking about. Don't just pick countries on a map and say those are safe and those aren't. Now, are you telling me this business, who will remain nameless for the purposes of this podcast, do you guys not buy any products, goods, or services from Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, and India? Or you only buy from them? So this fancy dry fit that hey, if it's not from Mexico or Colombia, we can't get it. What were those standards? We don't know. They just pick them out of nowhere because this is such a misunderstood industry as to how it should work or it could work. Or frankly, the question I get all the time, what can these people actually do?
What can you hire?
The only thing my people can't do is go get an insurance license because they don't live in the United States. And they can't show up in the United States, but actually they can. We have agents that beg their Colombian VEs to come up for their annual party.
Yep.
So, yeah, no,
that is a great answer, and I'm probably sure it's going to get both of us in hot water.
What's wrong with it, man? I'd love to talk to a carrier and say, hey, guys, why aren't you underwriting this properly? Look, every day in America, business industries emerge. And guess what the insurance market always has to do eventually? They always have to catch up. The underwriters have to figure it out. They have to start writing lines, or you call London. And someone over there that's a smart insurance professional will figure out how to underwrite a risk that's never existed before.
Yep. So
don't tell me that you can't figure out a way to properly underwrite. You can. If a cryptocurrency goes live tomorrow, the market will figure out how to insure it. Don't tell me we can't figure out virtual employees and how to underwrite it properly and set good standards and guidelines. There's a way to do it, just like there are roofing companies or bars and restaurants or work comp or roofing. It's all excuses.
Yep. Now, I have a couple other actual straight questions. Let's start off with best practices for hiring. How do you hire appropriately for a culture fit for your agency?
Well, the first thing is, just like any category of jobs, you got to pay correctly. What I see so often in our industry is some of our, not all, we have great competitors. We have great, respectable, honest competitors in this space. We're not the only ones. What I see so often is a VA company, real or represented however they are, go just try to find somebody in another country for the lowest price, but as long as they can still speak English and get to the internet, they're going to hire them and take the proceeds and put it in their pocket. What we've chosen to do at Virtual Intelligence, and what all agencies should consider, is, are the people that are working in my agencies compensated, supported, and trained properly by the company I've hired? So I'd say, first of all, the first best practice is make sure that you or your agency that you're using is paying them the right way, because the one way to evaporate your cost savings in outsourcing is to have turnover. And if you pay someone $2.50 an hour in the Philippines to do COIs all day, guess what they'll leave you for? $2.75 when the opportunity arises. Yep. Especially if, as an agency owner, you haven't painted the picture for them how they can earn additional incentives and be a part of a career track. They don't feel like they have a home. They're just piecing together side hustles to give as much money to their absolutely needy family and provide food and shelter and water for their family. And so number one is you got to pay them right. Two, in terms of making and by the way, one addresses a lot of the other ones.
Yep.
Whether or not you have the right tier of humans, if you will, like the true socioeconomic class, is determinative as to how much training, how well the training will be received, how professional they are, how motivated they are, how they've figured it out. And long story short, will ensure the long-term success. My person that we find is going to hit their ceiling of what they can do way later in the trajectory with the agency. So hire right. And luckily we know agencies because we're owned by agents and me. I've been in here 10. I'm not an agent, but I've been around 3,000 plus agents in my career so far, maybe more. It is to make sure that you have the right expertise to deliver the right expectations. I think that's really important, is for us not to sit here and oversell people on how well we can do in 8 weeks of training for an agency, or what we can do, or what these people's experience is. And once you get through that, VEs need to be three things that are our core values at Virtual Intelligence for our VEs. And they are three things: proactive, visible, and accurate. So in the interview process, we ask behavioral questions, open-ended, tell me about a time where this or that or whatever. We're looking for them to demonstrate real answers on how they were proactive. Did you say to the agency owner, hey boss, I know I only have 12 things to do today. I'm going to knock those out by noon. What do you want me to do after? Okay? You're not getting proactive belief from somebody making $2 an hour. They are literally just surviving. One of the things we make sure our VEs do is they only work for the agency and nothing else. Yep. We're not going to double, triple bill them. So proactive, visible. Are they responding to Teams messages? Are they in their agency management system? Are they active? Is there light green on Teams? It doesn't say away for 8 hours. Accurate. And accurate's the toughest one, especially for the industry. But that's why we niche. We don't really do VEs, virtual assistants, for any other industry, because we wouldn't be able to make the same commitment to quality if we did. Yeah. We know insurance agencies. We know the insurance industry. We know brokers. We know carriers. We know cybersecurity. We know policies. And that's how we make our folks accurate. They're smarter. They're better. They're higher quality, higher socioeconomic class. So all that accuracy we want to load up into them, they can receive better. They have to have worked with Americans for years. They have to have a commitment to continuing education. Only if you do that, you find the right person. No matter how much you beg and plead, people are what they are. What I see so often is our competitors saying, I can find you somebody that worked great in your agency. And behind the scenes, they're employing somebody who's an entry-level worker whose last job was working in one of the markets or as a taxi driver. That's why they don't work. So proactive, visible, and accurate are the three things we're looking for when we look for an employee, because it's my name on the line too. Nick, if you're running an agency, you're going to go, Davie, is this going to work out? I say, hey, I do a bunch of things that you don't have to do. You don't have to post a job. You don't have to interview. You don't have to pay Indeed or LinkedIn or Monster or sort through 60 resumes. By the time you say, Davie, I want a virtual employee, I'm going to give you 3 or 4 candidates based on your agency that I think would work. I have many more, but I'm going to give you a curated, consultative approach to virtual employees. We do some discovery. We make sure we vet these people. Not everybody who applies for virtual intelligence in the Philippines or Colombia gets to be selected. How do you make sure this industry that you find the right people? Yeah. I got to teach my agency owners how to say no.
You hit on something that I think a lot of people miss. And that's when we're hiring these people, they are entry-level insurance staff. They don't, and I would literally tell insurance agents, said you are hiring a 23-year-old college-educated adult, but it's not any different than hiring a 23-year-old from down the road.
That's right.
If I asked
they got access to the same social media and have the same attention span of a gnat like all the other 23-year-olds.
Like, if I asked my 22-year-old what her premium was on her car insurance, she'd be like, I don't know.
I don't know. What are my problems? Yeah.
Even with training, there's still entry-level staff who need time and attention and processes. I had somebody call me directly and be like, hey, I don't know if this is going to work out. I'd be like, well, what did you have available to them when they came out of training?
Yeah.
for how your business does business.
How your business runs, exactly right.
Did you have a Google site? Did you have an SOP document of the processes of your business? You had at that company, they came out 8 weeks later. Did you start documenting the work they're going to be doing? And I love the idea of having a career path. Okay, let's set your goals for 6, 12, 18 months. Because nobody knows what they're going to be doing in 5 years. But you
No.
you ask somebody what their career plan is for 12 or 18 months, they have a good idea.
We see ourselves as an implementation partner for a completely different way for hiring. Like when you know this really well in everything you've done, right? I worked for a big corporation. When we bought Salesforce for the first time in our large 600-person corporation, we paid a consultant tens of thousands of dollars for them to guide us through the implementation, the software, the training, the execution, the adoption, all those things, right? If you've never hired virtual employees with success, that means you tried it and it failed because of you. You tried it and failed because of the VA company. You tried it and failed for a lot of other reasons. If you've never, that's how we approach our customers. We don't just want to give you a virtual employee walk away. We want to help you implement it. I once had an agency on a call with me one time, and he said, hey, these other companies said they could find somebody that will work in my agency, and they're trained, and they'll be ready in a week. His name's David. He's a friend. I said, David, so you want to train the VE instead of me? He said, no. They said they'd train him. In a week? They haven't asked you a single question about what your AMS is, what carriers you have, what lead development software do you have, what do you guys do for SEO? How's your tech stack aligned? No, they didn't ask you any of that, and they can make the commitment that that person's going to be ready to work in your agency in a week? I've seen people that have worked in agencies for 8 years that don't know what's going on, much less somebody from another country who doesn't speak English as their first language, right? I always tell people that virtual employees, regardless of country, Spanish, Southeast Asia, they're going to learn the concepts of insurance at a slower rate than an American would because their brain has to process, all right, my English, I heard English, native language, back to English. Right? And that's what so many people don't understand. And they have these unrealistic standards for these folks. Yep. And so, yeah, I think the numbers are really, really important there to understand that you can't just wave a wand and make a 23-year-old a commercial lines insurance expert. That's the other thing I think gets misrepresented. Hey, we're going to do training with a capital T. We're going to train them. So often what we find is that a virtual assistant company will take a VE that they just found in the Philippines. And by the way, they just hired anybody that walked in. They run them through AMS demo, HawkSoft, AMS 360, Epic, doesn't matter. Run them through a demo, teach them how to spell the word insurance. Oh, you want commercial training? We'll run them through a couple days worth of the Hartford. We'll teach them how to quote on Progressive. They're trained, ready to go. The beauty, the blessing, and the curse of the independent agent model is that every agency is different. It's also the most terrible thing for vendors. Right? Well, being on the vendor side. Yes. I mean, talk about your sales meetings. And we're going through procurement with this company right now. And guess what? Their chief legal officer has different questions than the other one. Guess what? Their AMS is built with toothpicks and zaps that does not work. Right? They've got 16 pieces of software. They only use 12 of them. We got to get some things. I love it when somebody says, I don't have the money for a virtual employee and they're paying for 2 AMSs. Hilarious to me. And it's not hilarious because these are good people. These are good agency owners that get caught up in the idea that they've got to automate and future think their agencies, and they don't have anybody to guide them through. It's why at Virtual Intelligence we have ways that we work with agents regardless of their VEs. We do consultations. We do implementation training guidance. That's what all of our content is designed around, how you guys can make this work.
Yep.
In an open source kind of way.
Good question from Ray. It's actually a really good question. Why should
Love Ray. What's up, Ray? How you been? Love you, brother.
Why should local staff be excited for VEs, and how do you eliminate the concern that their job is going to be outsourced?
Most common questions, and it is the fear that most agency owners have when they say yes to me, but they haven't told their staff yet. You go through 2 or 3 demos. Davey, this sounds great. You guys are going to kill it. You're going to be awesome. Now I have to deliver this message to my 20-year veteran who's ran my agency operation for the entire time. And the first thing she's going to think or he's going to think is they're stealing my job. If you're unlicensed and you're hanging out in an agency, you better be driving a lot of value if you're not adding customers. If you're a non-licensed U.S. professional working long-term in any insurance agency or brokerage, your days are numbered. So the first thing is for people to start understanding the difference between licensed and non-licensed tasks. We see it all the time. You lose a staff member. I got to hire a licensed person. I got to get a licensed CSR. Why? To do COIs and billing changes all day. I think the biggest myth that we educate in every single demo is that we've identified nearly 60 things that from a licensing standpoint, just the insurance license alone, a VE or automation can do. And there's really only two big tasks that an insurance license allows you to do. Advise and bind. Advise, affect premium dollar, talk coverage options, things like that, and then hit the bind button. Like the first thing that licensed people that are afraid of their jobs need to understand is that their lives will be better when they have a VE helping them out. And they should be, because that means they should do the thing that they got hired to have their license, which is talk to customers.
Pick up
right?
the phone
Now,
and call your customers.
Here's specific coaching for the agency that has the cantankerous staff, okay? The staff that's going to say, I don't like foreign people, right? That's one of the objections. Or, these are my customers. I need to do this stuff. Or, I'm faster. Do not put a VA or a VE or an assistant with those people. They will battle you no matter what. Put a VE with your most coachable, adaptable, and bought-in employee, or yourself as the agency owner. Start there and then work your way downhill. Don't try to fight the battle uphill. Fight it downhill. Because I promise you this, if you for just that, we've ran this number so many different ways, Nick. For about every $2 million in written premium, you are generating 40 hours worth of non-licensed service work for the agency on average. Service calls, billing changes, COIs, quote requests, cross-sells, upsells, business development, all that stuff. You're generating 40 hours worth of non-licensed work. You're just trying to make people do it for 3 times the cost you need to. So that's how we say to people, somebody's $12 million in written premium. 3 employees, 4 employees. Well, I don't know if I have the work. What? I don't think you understand the economics of how labor works in an agency. I don't care how long you've owned the agency.
Yep.
Why are you paying someone 3 times the cost to do every single COI? Take the person who's doing the COIs, put them in front of the customers. And if they can't grow your organization, if that's a licensed person and they can't help you grow or retain your customers, they are wasting your time and money. By the way, licensed people in agencies, this is my call to you too. Get really comfortable working with customers. Cross-sell, upsell, advise, retain, build relations, network, whatever you want. Because that's everything virtual employees, our virtual employees that are infused with AI technology to be faster, or pure AI agents that work in agencies. They don't need you unless you're going to talk to customers, because my folks can't drive the relationship with the customer live, in person, or to say, hey, I'm from your community. I live in Kansas City. I live in Phoenix. I live in Los Angeles. I'm a member of your community. You can come see me at coffee anytime you want. The virtual employees in the AI can never do that.
I had Landry on yesterday. Landry Fields.
Landry Fields, shout out. That's a future. Landry's a future guy. He's thinking of the future at all times.
Yep. And we talked a lot about the AI stuff. And my point and my take on AI is, yes, AI and virtual employees are there to make your sales producers' life easier, to get them to the point of that legal entity requirement of building relationships and rapport and having a sales conversation, not just being an order taker, and being ready to advise and bind the policy. Everything else is, a lot of times, it's busy work.
Well, you get as a leader of an organization, let's say you're an agency principal, let's say you're a sales manager, let's say you're somebody just trying to drive results, and you talk to your salespeople and you go, hey, we need to get our numbers up. What do all salespeople in all industries say? Man, I'd sell more if I didn't have so much busy work. I'm doing quotes, I'm doing customer relations. I'm going to give you a virtual employee because I actually think you're a good salesperson. And 2 things are going to happen. 1, stop entering tasks in the AMS. This is a good takeaway. For any agency that's seriously leveraging virtual employees the right way, when you log into your AMS, if 95 of your last 100 tasks aren't done by a virtual employee or technology, you're doing it wrong. And two, the salespeople in insurance are the most spoiled if they use a VE. Imagine you're meeting with a customer, and I'm not kidding you, our VEs can do this. Imagine you're talking to a customer, you have a 15-minute conversation, and with one of our VEs and a couple pieces of AI technology, a VE can have a quote done in multiple carrier websites, not in EasyLinks, not in PL Rater, but in the carrier websites in under 10 minutes, about 7 to 8 carrier websites, before the conversation's over. And the producer doesn't have to sit there with the person at their desk going, how old's your roof? Click, click, click. What is it, concrete roof or cedar? Okay. Right? You can just sit there as an insurance producer, a licensed professional, and build rapport and relationship with your customer. You're like, oh, you know what? I just got a note from my virtual employee. We've marketed your account to 7 of our best carriers, and now we have a full package for you on home, auto, life, umbrella, motorcycle. We got it all. It only took 10 minutes, and thank you for engaging in some intake with us. By the way, here's my advice on coverage. This one's a fit for you. Imagine being an insurance professional and not touching your keyboard. That's what a VE and automation and embracing the future can do, is that you don't even have to break eye contact with your insured. Hey, you know what? While we're talking, actually, I've got a virtual employee listening to our conversation with some supplemental AI technology, and every answer you give me, we're feeding into our system right away to try to find you the best coverage for everything that you're sitting with me today. And as I ask you a few more questions, start to get your account set up. Is there anything else that we need to talk about today? Cool. Just give me about, oh, you got to run? Cool, that's okay. Here in about 5 minutes, I'm going to email you everything. You've got it all.
Yep.
I talk to agencies all the time. How long does it take you to get a quote? 45 minutes, day and a half. And listen, don't tell me that if you're an agent, because I'm going to test you. I love my current independent agent. Took a week and a half to remarket my entire package. I got a whole package. I got me, another driver. We got kids. We've got a couple cars. We have a trampoline. It was a lot. I guarantee it was a lot.
I did a test 2 years ago when my wife and I were buying this house for it. 6 local agencies.
You were messing with your local insurance professional.
All of them.
So wrong.
Not one of them got back to me proactively.
Yeah.
I filled out their quote forms or their one of them, their quote form was a contact form.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're buying a house. Here's the address. We want to get a quote. We have a couple cars. We have teenage drivers. Only one, and then I had to. Most of the 6, only one had an autoresponder from their form.
Right.
You're talking to your insured. They really don't have time. You can have that conversation. Be like, oh, while we're on the phone, can I text you a link? You just log in. Right.
Log in.
Use your Canopy Connect account. Send gets it.
Yep.
Your VE gets it, and then same thing. They're getting the whole thing together instead of having to ask.
Well, and look, for years we couldn't get away from the InsurTech word. Couldn't get away from that, right? And they all said, "Oh, well, hey, watch out for InsurTech. Watch out for InsurTech. It's coming for your jobs, et cetera, et cetera." I think it's interesting when someone that's and by the way, this is where the complaint comes from. Let's look at the insurance industry as a whole, right? Oh, you've heard these. I'll say this, and you hit a button every time you've heard this phrase, right? Well, hey, the insurance industry, we're always the last to innovate. We're very, very sedentary industry. Or how about this one? An independent agent says it and then complains about the carrier, right? And by the way, there are a lot of carriers that have not adopted technology at the rate that independent owners have, because independent owners are smaller businesses and carriers are bigger companies, and the decision-making process takes long. However, it's funny, the hypocrisy shows up again. You're going to sit there and say that the industry is set back because the carriers won't adapt technology, and you just had someone give you their information and your CSR wrote it down on a Post-it note before they quoted it.
Yep.
It's like Taylor Swift's song, "Hey, me, I'm the problem, it's me."
I had an agency I was talking to. They just asked for some marketing advice. I said, what are you doing marketing wise? And they said, yeah, we're running Google ads. I'm like, okay, that's fairly advanced.
That's
Good
an
progress.
intentional thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
Good work.
What are you doing when they come in? Oh, well, the office manager gets an email and she has a list on her desk and she routes it out to the next person in line when she gets a chance. $3,000 to $5,000 a month on leads, and you're waiting for someone to have a chance to look at their email to
Lighten them
forward
up.
it to the next person. What is this, a used car lot?
Take the money that you were spending on those leads and start a
Set it on
fire in the parking lot with them.
If you recorded that as a video, you'd actually get a ton of leads. But yes, I mean, that's the kind of mentality I see. And it's unfortunate. I'm like, okay, if you're going to run ads, if you're going to, I don't even blame agencies who are buying leads. It is what it is. Just put some automation and some body and people behind it to work it. I've talked to agencies who they were getting leads in, they had everything right, and then their sales producer would look at the lead and go, "It's not worth me even quoting." No conversation with the prospect, no emails, no phone calls, and I'm just like, yeah, guys.
I've seen people shut off their personal lines practice because they can't get to it. They're so, imagine not being able to get your staffing, your labor, and your revolving expenses under control so greatly that you have to declare bankruptcy on a line of business in your operation. Right?
You chose not to make a minor
Innovate.
change on how you're hired.
Or how about this one? They chose to not call their friend Nick and ask for help, or call their friend Davie and ask for help, and get a piece of advice from a peer who's gone through it.
Mm-hmm.
I got into like a little email battle with a prospect one time, and he just wanted to tell me how to run my business. He wanted to tell me that we should do part-time VEs and we need to have this country set up and their training process needs to be faster. And I'm like, dude, have you ever used a virtual employee? No. Okay. So then I was just having fun with it. I just went to his website, started picking it apart. I was like, hey, by the way, I did a copy of some of your copy on your website in quotations, and you are now one of 1,000 other agents that uses the same cookie cutter website. Don't talk to me about how to run my business unless you want to hear me tell you how to run yours. The expectations and the glaring opportunities people have to learn or get better. Maybe one of the big things that people need to have is some humility.
Yeah.
I learned our virtual intelligence gets better about every 4 to 6 weeks because we get some nugget from one of our customers. We listen to it, we study it, we measure that suggestion against other like agencies, personal lines VE, commercial lines VE, certain types of technology, and we get better from a piece of feedback from the field, and we often openly solicit it because we know the best stuff comes from customers. We're not so full of ourselves that we think we're the only solution here.
Yeah. Well, and it's a big end, and it's always, I was just at an event in Florida.
Yep.
And there were 6 VA and VE companies there.
Mm-hmm.
But you know how many premium finance companies there are? And nobody says a word about it.
Yeah.
But if there's 6 VE companies at a trade show, you all need staffing, so we need a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think the industry has done wrong is to call us VA companies. It's pejorative.
Yep.
We're a staffing company specific to the insurance industry.
Yep.
Because it's a little bit cultural and it's a little bit racial.
Yep.
That's not an American.
So the whole concept of the virtual assistant isn't new. The insurance industry adopted it 8 years ago, I think, when Andy kicked things off.
Mm-hmm.
But in the marketing world and in the information sales world, they've been doing this for years. I remember, was it Pat Flynn kicked it off back in like 2012?
Yeah.
And again, I didn't like it because it's virtual always throws me off because it's a human being on the other end of that line.
Yeah, the word virtual.
I don't
in the beginning parts of training my AIs, I really had to train it that our version of virtual employees is not an AI, because a lot of the default beliefs, when you say the word virtual employee, they think it's an AI agent, right?
Yeah. The first version, I was working on an article outline about like all the different staffing companies. And I literally had to step back, delete that chat. So when I say virtual assistant or virtual employee,
I mean a human.
it means a remote offshore employee.
Yeah.
And then it
Yeah.
spot me on it.
Well, it's fun. I also had a little fun with a service provider. I'll just say it's a technology forward aggregator group. And that aggregator group they were pitching us. They're like, oh, well, you want to be listed on our website? Here's the price to be listed on our website. And I was like, okay. Listen, I did this for almost a decade at IPFS at the finance company. I had every state association and 60 sales reps asking us to write checks for their state big I for sponsorships, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, what do you have? Well, we're going to list you on our virtual employee outsourced labor page. How many other VA companies are there? 15. Huh. How'd you choose which 15 to put on here? Well, they're all of our partners, aka they wrote us checks. Mm-hmm. I said, all right, while I have you, let's start going through it. How about this one? Are they owned by U.S. people, or is this a VE company only that's owned by virtual employees in other countries? I don't know. Hey, real quick, does this one, how many labor countries do they have? I don't know. Hey, are they owned by agents? I don't know. Hey, do they actually have a legal entity in the countries that they've set up where they actually have background checks in an office? I don't know. How dare you ask me to write you a check? You don't have any idea what you're putting your name on.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Andy, right? That a pioneer in our industry, somebody I have a ton of respect for. I dealt with this in the premium finance world. There are so many tiny regional premium finance companies, some owned by wholesalers and agents, and they would, some of them at a small level would compete very well with the big organization. But a lot of them have no clue what they're doing. Or sadly, in the virtual assistant world, their business is in direct violation of the agency's contract or the E&O coverage that they're under, or their direct carrier appointments. You know, for example, a lot of the language says you can't hire someone direct. And they just got off a demo where one of my competitors said, what we do is we run a VA company here, and we go to Fiverr.com, we find you somebody, and then you pay them directly for $2 or $3 an hour. But we're a VA company.
That's just an Upwork agency.
It's just somebody who's just going to go onto Upwork or Fiverr for you and find somebody. That's actually a trend right now, right? If an agency owner out there is considering hiring a VA directly, you are putting a sweatshop on your service desk, and the industry will not allow you to continue this.
My fear on hiring direct is nobody, and even the IT infrastructure in the United States for the U.S. insurance agencies is mediocre at best. At best.
We know some of our computers that are safer than computers sitting in agencies in the U.S. Yep. Based on the security we have.
Well, and like I had an agency be like, how would I do this? I'm like, I wouldn't. I said, but you have to build, you have to have a remote desktop. You need to have them VPN into the remote desktop environment.
So you can shut it down.
Manage that. You have to manage access. And you don't even know how to create a new user profile in Windows. That has accurate settings.
What it comes down to is, what is the person running the internal VA company's time value? I had an agency owner, and I'll only use his first name, and I love him, and he knows I love him, and I hope he listens to this. Brandon, I'm talking about you. Okay? So he comes in, got some VAs from us, and actually, to his credit, wanted to hire the VA direct and did the thing that made him contractually compliant with our service agreement, which is he notified us and then paid the money to purchase the VE direct. If you do this to VA companies and you try to hire their people direct out from underneath you, agency owners, they will sue you for tens of thousands of dollars. The core foundation of the virtual employee contract for all of us says, hey, if you hire my person through me, you can't hire them direct. Guess what? Same language that a staffing agency in the U.S. has. It's not crazy. I know you think because you're slicker than me, you're going to do it without letting me know, and then I'm going to sue you, and it's not going to be. not going to be great. But my point is this agency owner who's great, runs a great operation, said, hey, I want to pull your VE in directly. Go through the process, pay the fees. I circled back with them about 30 days. I said, how's it going? What I want to know from you is how involved are you getting in the hiring and onboarding process? And this guy, it's his thing. He goes to a job board regularly. He has the people engage in regular assessments before he hires them. He trains them himself and then deploys them in his agency. Nick, agency owner that knows commercial lines business better than anybody in his agency. And he's spending his time hiring Filipinos and putting them through assessments and training them himself. I said, Brandon, there's got to be a price, man, where we can do this. I understand you think you can pay these folks more, but hey, how much money are you doing on security? We do it ourselves. What about productivity software? Oh, well, we kind of just manage their AMS. And when somebody says we just manage, that means he just does it himself.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me when people think that they want to bring it in. They think that, I had a family member one time that he thought on all of his houses he was going to be the general contractor. Guess what? He never ended up seeing his family.
Yeah.
If you want to do it yourself, knock yourself out, but you're taking away something from someone with a license. Let me handle the rest of it.
Yeah. Well, it's workforce is all arbitrage.
It's all
you are arbitraging. You are picking one place you're going to spend your time and energy versus spending some money to do it.
That's right. It's like if you own a bar or a restaurant, you have two choices. Pay somebody else to run it or live there. Live there. Be there when the deliveries show up at 4 a.m. and when the bar closes at 2 a.m. so nobody steals any money. Do you want to manage this person direct? Because they have one thing that you can't manage them direct, and that's there's an ocean in between you, not a hallway.
Yep. Even in the best case scenario, if somebody goes off the hinges at the VE company, they can just go, okay, we're like, how difficult it is to shut down systems.
How about this one? When your carrier finds out that your Filipino VE had direct access to their carrier portal and you had absolutely no cybersecurity process or protocols, you don't have a written incident security protocol, and that person didn't actually steal the data, but the carrier's like, they had access to it. There's no way you can prove that they didn't. We're going to assign the breach to you.
Yeah. Yep.
Lessons are learned, and the regulatory environment's going to squeeze it out anyways. You think, for one, these carriers have said for years, no VAs, no VAs, no VAs, no VAs. We're going to pretend like they don't exist. Oh, one day we're just going to change our rules and let you do whatever you want? No, they're going to change the rules and say you got to have a risk transfer to an agency that has a cybersecurity policy. It's owned by U.S. people, not domiciled in Serbia.
Oh, man.
Yeah, man.
If anybody wants to talk VE and remote staffing, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Anyway, they can find me at virtualintel.com. Hit the button that says free consultation, because the point that I want people to know is that time with us is free. We joke that our demos are agent therapy. That you kind of referenced it earlier. Somebody's like, I'm doing Google ads. And then you find out by the time the conversation is over, they can't keep any staff, their carriers are eroding or whatever else, and they just need somebody to pick them up off the mat. So I'd say go to virtualintel with 2Ls.com, click on free consultation. Here's a secret pro tip. That thing's just reading my calendar, so get on my calendar.
Yeah.
Pretty active on LinkedIn, pretty active on Facebook. Davie, D-A-V-I-E, Davie Holt on both platforms. Come find me. We just want to help. Like I said, I didn't know I was going to turn this thing into a labor of love. I passionately enjoy helping two people. I love helping agency owners be able to grow their business and get their freedom and their sanity and their time with their families back by transferring their non-licensed work over to our folks. And I'll tell you the most rewarding. Interviewing and talking to our virtual employees in Colombia and the Philippines who are, and I mean this when I say this, eternally grateful for the opportunity to work with an American. In all the weirdness that's going on in the world and politics and whatever, can you imagine there's somebody in another country that is so desperate or enthusiastic to try to be a part of the American experience? That's a cool story, and it's a humbling thing for an American to be like, wait, I think I'm kind of messed up, but you just want to work for me? Wow. Yeah. That's what we enjoy.
When I was at the previous company, I had my own VE.
Of course.
And I was meeting with him one day, and he said, Nick, he said, Mr. Nick, and I it always bugged me when
Yeah.
he said that.
I get Mr. Davie quite a bit.
And he goes, do you know when I came to work for you, I started making per hour what I would make per day at that cell phone call center company?
Yeah.
This literally changed my wife's ability to stay home with our kids.
Yep.
And I was a pretty, like, he was my creative director. He made all my creative and made all my designs and stuff.
Sure.
I get to do what I love, and I make a living that enables my family to have a shot.
And you don't treat me like a number on a call
No.
center. You actually treat me like a human being. You care about me. I can see with us working together how long term you'll care about me in the future. Yeah, look, it's not like Robin Hood. You know, we're not stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, but we certainly are raising up people in other countries who are very incredibly wonderful human beings off of one thing. They chose to do the one thing that raises their socioeconomic status for their family for the rest of their generations: learn English and work for an American.
Yep.
That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool to be able to give that. Imagine giving life and prosperity to someone and you only pay them $32,000 a year.
Right.
And they do see some of the work in your agency that you can't find anybody to do. And they do it with a smile and enthusiasm.